Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning and welcome to the Penang Hill and its Vicinity 100 Years of Wonders Talk. This year marks the 100th anniversary of the Penang Hill Railway, which began its operations since 31st October 1923. The iconic railway is the first funicular system in Southeast Asia and features one of the steepest tunnels in the world. The funicular has certainly brought remarkable changes to not only the hill but also its vicinity. Today, we have with us a panel of esteemed speakers moderated by Dr. 𝐵𝐵𝐵 to share with us the historical evolution of Penang Hill, the transformation of Air Itam and 𝐒𝐻𝐸𝐴, and the education wonders across centuries since the 19th century to discover the pioneers and changes of education around Penang Hill. Our moderator, Dr. 𝐵𝐵𝐵, holds a Master's of Social Science in Asian Studies from University Science Malaysia, where she graduated as the gold medalist of the faculty during her Bachelor of Social Science days. She also has a PhD in Anthropology from Monash University. She specializes in urban anthropology, food studies, and cultural geography. Prior to joining Penang Institute, she was a lecturer with the School of Arts and Social Sciences in Monash University, Malaysia. Her current policy researches includes works on creative cities, cost of living issues, social infrastructure, and manpower issues. Apart from research work, Dr. 𝐵𝐵𝐵 is also a polyglot, athlete, and a musician. So without further ado, I will now pass the floor to Dr. 𝐵𝐵𝐵 to begin the session.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you, Vivian, for that very generous introduction. I'm very honored to be invited to be the moderator for this session in this very authentic hotel with very natural surroundings. We have very natural sound systems here. So, speaking of the 100th anniversary of the funicular train, gives me a very distinct memory actually. And this was this memory has always been in my head, right? So it was a family reunion, right? And I was probably in my primary school, 8 to 10 years old, around there. Me and my cousins, we were all about waist height, okay? So, and at that time, it still wasn't the electronic with the funicular train as we have now that we came up with today. It was still the wooden ones actually with open air windows, no aircon, right? So it was very fun. Everyone was pushing, hustle and bustle. We all got shoved into the train, and with the crowd, some families got separated, and because I remember. It wasn't closed, so the windows were sort of like, it was open air, right? So you can hear families shouting from one carriage to the other just to check if all their family members in their groups were together. So as usual, us kids, we could see a little bit of the scenery out there, but like most of us, we were just sort of like this height. And then it was great fun. It was great fun. And then I saw my cousin's face turning from excitement to puzzlement. And finally, I think he couldn't take it anymore, and he just went like, "Who farted?" So, at least at those times it was open air lah. But I don't know what would happen if it happens now lah, in the train when it's all closed up. So, enough of my fart joke. So, without further ado, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our speakers today, but I'll be introducing them prior to their presentation, right? So our first speaker, 𝐒𝐻𝐸𝐴. So 𝐒𝐻𝐸𝐴 is a history and international politics researcher who has a lifelong profound interest in the field of Southeast Asian history. As a former staff writer at the Penang Institute, he is known for his various articles in the Penang Monthly on key historical events that occurred in Penang and Malaya, as well as the historical background of forgotten historical sites in Malaysia. Due to his passion for documenting the history of Penang Hill, He also single-handedly drafted the historical contents of the Funicular Railway Gallery at the Penang Hill Gallery, following his appointment by the Penang Hill Corporation as a member of the Penang Hill Gallery Consultative Panel. After concluding his stints at the Penang Institute, he went on to join 𝐒𝐫𝐴𝐵 Productions, where he curated and drafted the contents of the KL Story Permanent Historical Gallery in Central Market, KL, and Buku to Books, a digitized historical archive exhibition in collaboration with the US Library of Congress and the British Library during the 𝐂𝐥𝐞𝐿 Festival 2021, as well as being in charge of planning the Jawi Peranakan exhibition during the Peranakan Festival 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause to Enzo.
Hi everyone. So first of all, I'll be sharing about the Penang Hill in a rather different context, which is to look at Penang Hill through its evolution, the roles that it played. So to me, each hill or highlands in Malaysia plays its own roles, and this is rather true with Penang Hill. The very first hill station that we have here in the Malay Peninsula, developed by the British colonialists. Now, so to recap on the history of how Penang Hill was developed into a hill resort, we have to first go back to the year of 1786. When Francis Light actually arrived in Penang together with his expeditionary force to acquire this island as a colony of the British Empire. Its first foothold in the Malay Peninsula that would create a wider influence throughout this region, before eventually acquiring the mainland in the Malay Peninsula and also Singapore itself later on. Now, as a good soldier, Francis Light has sought to secure the highest point in the island, because at that time a lot of us wouldn't have known that Penang, as Francis Light named Prince of Wales Island at that time, it's facing a very real threat, actually, more than we could imagine. Because at that time, which was during the late 1700s, a very big war is happening in Europe, which is the Napoleonic Wars. So Napoleon fought with pretty much all the empires in continental Europe, and so British is an adversary of the French forces led by Napoleon. So at that time, there's a Far East French naval fleet that has the ability to attack British footholds in the Malay Peninsula, which is at the time Penang. So very quickly, just a few years after, he secured the highland in this Penang Hill to actually set up a signaling post. So at first, before I go further into the role of Penang Hill as a signaling post, I shall go through the very first part of the history. So as you can see from this painting, drawn by a very famous artist, Captain Robert Smith, who is at that time an engineer following the British forces to the Far East, including Penang. So at that time, as his painting depicted, the hobby of the British colonists at the time is to explore the nature, and the biodiversity of the Malay Peninsula, which is present in Penang Hill. Now, so in 1787, this is where we go into the first, go deep dive into the first role of Penang Hill as an observatory post. So prior to the construction of the first signal station in Penang Hill, the original signal station was located in Mount Erskine. Now, Mount Erskine at that time in 1787 was set up with a signaling post by the British to look out for any threats that are incoming to Penang. So up there, they would use a series of flags, as you can see, the flags that are present here. They will use a series of code flags or color flags to signal the number of the fleets, the size of the fleets that are incoming to Penang's port, and this will be communicated down directly to the authorities in Port Cornwallis. And at that time, through this signaling method, they can identify whether the incoming ships are of friendly nations for doing trade businesses, or they are the real threats like the French naval forces that were going to attack Penang. But this Mount Erskine has one weakness, which is that it only offers the view towards the north of the island and not the rest of the surrounding waters. So when they sent up the expeditionary forces to discover Penang Hill and to open up the very first rudimentary pathway up to the top of Penang Hill, they've set up a government hill bungalow specifically for Francis Light as the first superintendent of Prince of Wales Islands residence. So it's his official residence, and apart from serving as his official residence, it also served as the observatory post to look out for the French naval forces and other possible enemies that might be approaching Penang. Now, as we move on to the 1800s, so before the 1800s, it was specifically only for government's use, the exclusive use of the superintendent's office before the post of the governor of the British governor was being established in Penang. So, and entering the 1800s, privatizations began, including all the lands that are available to be bought, purchased by the local colonial gentries. So at that time, the exclusive use of the land include stuffs like lands like this one, which was known as Halliburton's Hill. So where we're at right now is known as Halliburton's Hill. So why Halliburton, you might ask? Halliburton is the first sheriff of the Prince of Wales Island, which is equivalent to the police inspector general at that time of Prince of Wales Island. Now, as the first sheriff, he acquired this piece of land, built a very nice wooden bungalow that was exemplary of the structures at that time. Because before the Funicular Railway was built, only timber structures were being built because of the convenience to acquire such resources. And the bricks and masonry buildings were only built after more of that building was built after 1923. When the Funicular Railway was completed. So, in 1793, now moving on from the privatization of the land to the British colonial gentries, there was also another role that Penang Hill has played, and that is for the convalescence of those with the ailing health. Now, at that time, serving as a convalescent squad, it was also exclusively for British soldiers who have just came back from the colonial wars that the British Army is fighting at that time across Africa, across India. So when they were wounded and they are ailing, suffering from bouts of malaria and so on, they will be given a doctor's note and they will be shipped all the way from their respective battlefields up to the convalescence bungalow at that time, and this was thanks to the natural environment of Penang Hill, which has been proven to have recuperative effects on whoever is staying there. And this is not just by word of mouth; it was, in fact, proven scientifically by Dr. T.M. Ward through his paper known as a contribution to the medical topography of Malacca and the Prince of Wales Island. Now he was the assistant surgeon from the 31st Regiment of the Madras Native Infantry. Now, so in this document, he documented the miraculous effects of the hill on recovering the health of individuals who were staying out there. So, when the first bungalow was built, namely the Government Hill Bungalow for Francis Light's use, after he passed away in the 1800s, the second structure to be built was the convalescent bungalow. Now the convalescent bungalow, as I mentioned, as you see in the previous picture, this convalescent bungalow However, this structure was built in brick and masonry, which was built much later. And now the first structure was the one. This is the one used by the British Army for recuperative purposes. And then moving on from as we dive deeper into the role of being a convalescence spot. Now, as I mentioned, that was before 1886, much early in the period of the 1800s. It was only for the use of government soldiers. And in 1886, the Crack Hotel opened. At that time, it wasn't really a proper functioning hotel yet. It's rather what we call as a sanatorium or a health resort. Now, in 1886, Captain John Kerr, who was running a shipping company between Sumatra, which was under the Dutch hands at the time, Dutch Sumatra, and the British colonial footholds in Malaya. So, through his connections, he managed to bring in a lot of guests from Dutch Sumatra to stay up in this hill to recuperate their health. Because at that time, tropical diseases such as malaria, they are not treatable. And there's, before medical science is as advanced as our current times, Penang Hill is indeed a sanctuary for everyone to actually recuperate their health. Now, as you see this in this picture, which can be, with this view still being able to be viewed from the lawns of the 𝐵𝐵𝐸 Hotel, which you can check out later. So in this picture postcard, it depicts how how this has opened up opportunities for private individuals, apart from British soldiers, to come up to recuperate their health, to restore their health. And then it was so successful that in 1905, a very famous pair of brothers came up to acquire this land, and this is none other than the Sakis brothers, who were the founders of the 𝐸𝐸𝐸 Hotel, and went on to find their hotel empire in the Raffles in Singapore, the Strand in Burma, and the Hotel Orange in Surabaya, Indonesia as well. So Penang is where they find their fortune. This Armenian brothers from Persia at that time, which is now modern Iran. Now, so by this time, in 1905, as depicted in this picture postcard, the structure has already been built in a mixture of brick masonry and also wooden structure. Now, in 1905 and until 1919, under them, this resort has developed so nicely that it attracted literally all the colonial gentries from around Southeast Asia, the French, the Dutch, including the British who were living here as well. But by 1919, because of the war, they eventually were forced to sell it to the Federated Malay States Railway, which was managing a few other hotels as well, including the very famous Station Hotel in the Ipoh Railway Station, and also the Kuala Lumpur Railway Station, which unfortunately has closed down right now. And moving on in 1954, now apart from that, we've covered the role of Penang Hill as a military lookout point, as a convalescence spot, and thirdly, in this chapter, when it proceeded to 1954, something rather special came up. Now, at the very same compounds of the crag, as I mentioned, after the hotel has closed down its business, in 1954, the Incorporated Society of Planters, which was a very powerful conglomerate of British European planters staying in Malaya, who acquires many of the rubber plantations around the Malay Peninsula. They were facing, at that time, as we know, in 1954 was the height of the Malayan emergency. So, because of the communist insurgency threat in the jungles of Malaya and in the towns, in the urban areas as well, they have been looking for a spot to set up a school for their children. Now, the boarding school, after looking for so many locations, they eventually settled down in Penang Hill, and at the same place as the crag. Now, so the crag has played two functions. One, previously as a hotel, and after that it changed its fate because of the Incorporated Society of Planters' decision to turn it into a school. So the school was so famous that known as the Uplands International School, which still has its legacy continuing until today. It's so special that the Queen Elizabeth II even stopped by Penang Hill to greet their students during her maiden visit to Penang in 1972. And so this gives us a perspective of Penang Hill as an educational hub as well. And apart from the Uplands boarding school that I just mentioned, which everyone who looks into the history of Penang Hill would know, many people has overlooked the fact that Penang Hill is actually also the venue of another school over here as well, and one that came all the way from Singapore and the Cameron Highlands. Now, in this newspaper cutting, you can see that it announced that the Tanglin Boarding School is opening up its 3rd branch in Penang. So it is related to the communist insurgency as well, because Penang was relatively peaceful compared to the mainland in the Malay Peninsula during the communist insurgency. So in this, before I go further into the Tanglin Boarding School's 3rd branch opening in Penang, there's a need to recap on the history of the Tanglin Boarding School. So it was run by a woman, as seen in this newspaper cutting, Miss Anne Griffith Jones, who came all the way to Singapore in the 1920s to visit her brother. And it was love upon first sight. So he fell in love with the Malay Peninsula, with the tropical climate, and he decided that it is time for her to establish a boarding school. So by establishing a boarding school, it served the children of the British colonial families here and allowed them to stay with their parents longer before they are being sent back to the UK for further education. Now, it was so successful that after it first opened in the Tanglin Club in Singapore, the Tanglin Private Club in Singapore, which is still ongoing today, it opened at its disused suburb in 1925, and then around 6 years later, in 1933, it opened in Cameron Highlands. And Cameron Highlands was swarmed with communist insurgents at that time. So the whole school was entirely almost surrounded by communist insurgents. And as you can see, that was the situation in Cameron Highlands. People, students in their memoirs today, surviving students, alumni of the school, recounted how they travel to school every day in Cameron Highlands. It is in what they call an iron casket, because of this is the APC, the Armed Personnel Carrier, that the British used to ferry students up and down the hill to go to school at that time, the British students. So because of this tense situation, which endangered the lives of young students in Cameron Highlands, Penang Hill became a relatively safe spot for her to continue her career as a matron of the school. And so she moved this school all the way from Cameron Highlands to Penang Hill for a temporary time. So that is indeed a very special fact that we shouldn't overlook, because apart from Uplands, now we know there's a Tanglin boarding school as well. And the Tanglin school, in fact, is still a very famous international school today in Singapore. And then moving on to the Second World War. During the Second World War, Penang Hill saw a huge influx of what I would call war refugees. So extended families of the bungalow caretakers who are staying here, they would bring up not just their parents, their children, and their aunts, all their extended families, their cousins and all, to come up to Penang Hill to stay with them, to literally hide away from the dangers of being massacred by the Japanese soldiers in the urban areas. Now, apart from that, after peace has returned in 1945, the RAF regiment was stationed here in Penang Hill, and through the Imperial War Museum's archival photographs that I've gathered here for all of you to see, you can see in the background is the Ivor bungalow along the Summit Road, And that was the RAF regiment pushing their rations of food along what is today the Summit Road. So at that time, it's not even properly tarred yet. It was literally a dirt track, a gravel. It's a simple path that you can see. And at that time, peace has returned, and so the series of photographs that I'm going to show you are the everyday lives of this RAF regiment that they lived through while being stationed in Penang to restore peace and order. And in one of these photographs are being taken by Corporal Chadwick of the RAF regiment. So apparently he has the hobby of photographing the daily lives, and this has given us the perspective of the daily life of a British soldier up in Penang Hill at the time. Now you can see them cooking with the local residents sitting beside, and apart from that, you can see they're doing the community service up in Penang Hill. This is all in Penang Hill, and you can see that they are offering medical care and all. And apart from that, they are taking their time in front of Fairmont Bungalow, overlooking the nice view of Penang, learning some local languages, some local phrases. And you can see, yeah, this is them having playing cards, having meals together. And this, again, is in front of Fairmont Bungalow as well. And the aircraft man, Taylor, and together with his colleague, we are reading on a copy of the local newspaper. And you can see that they are, writing letters, sending out letters, and receiving love letters from their wives, all the way from the UK. So yeah, so that's about it. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Enzo, for that illustrative and literally illustrative and insightful presentation. Thank you so much. Next up, we will have Mr. Clement Liang, who's a face and a name that is no stranger to Penang's heritage and tourism industry. So, trained and educated in Penang, Australia and Japan, Clement plays an active role in promoting heritage conservation and tourism in his hometown of Penang. His main focus is on colonial ethnic migration history, and he has been involved in the production of several TV documentaries on history, including NHK and History Channel, and etc. He has held talks and training across the Asian region. Clement will share the early history of Air Itam and Air Puteh, where he spent his high school days. Over to you, Clement.
Okay, thank you. And good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my honor today to share something about, yes, Air Itam and Air Puteh, which even people in Penang, are you sure there's Air Puteh? Yes, there is. Yeah. So let's talk about Air Puteh because the foothill of Penang, our Penang Hill, is actually the source of the Air Puteh, not Air Itam. Air Itam started where? 𝐒𝐿𝐥𝐞𝐸 that side. So later when you go out, remember, yes, we have the Air Puteh. Okay. Right. Today I'm going to share a few things about this village, and Enzo has given a lot of good details about Penang Hill. So I'm not going to talk about Penang Hill. Okay. Right. Okay, Air Puteh, Air Itam, okay, what's the difference? Okay, and I also want to talk about Sabo House, because it's very iconic. 𝐒𝐿𝐥𝐸, very important, yes. Itam Market, yeah, one time was a very important place, but it also caught fire. I'll show you when it was on fire. And also, we have an electric tram run all the way to Air Itam, at the foothill. So these are the things that gone, but some still around, okay, 𝐒𝐿𝐥𝐸 especially. But you also see there's a few iconic buildings. The previous Kuan Yin statue, you still remember that? Maybe the younger ones never saw it, but I show you. And then also there's one temple that mysteriously disappeared. Yeah. Okay, first, Air Itam is the whole thing here. Of course, geographically, we just call it Air Itam, but later I'll share more in detail. And this is the early map of Penang Island, and there's a landmark here in the Air Itam area. One is the Army's View, and another Garden Eden. Well, so let me tell you more about Army's View. What's this place? Okay, alright, air putih. Yes, where? Okay, that is actually, if you can see, is we are at the Penang Hill, right, the police station, and then on the upper side, there are just a few, not less than 100 meters, you see this air putih running along this Penang Hill Road, all the way to, and then it joined the Air Itam, somewhere near the Jalan Zoo, the site. So it's less than 2 kilometers only, but the water is very, very, not to say putih, but means clear. Air putih means, air hitam of course is blackish lah. And sometimes it's a human factor to make it black. But air putih can see the water is very clear. And it joins the air hitam, and become air hitam, that color. But this is a very clear source of water. And yes, this is one of the paintings by Robert Smith, just how we saw in Enzo's slides, the big tree, and also some of the painting up in Penang Hill. This is also painted by him, yeah. But he also painted this one. Where was this place? It's actually at the foothill of Penang, our Penang station. You go down, it should be, closer to the air putih side. Yeah. So I think now they identify this place where the big flag is, on your right hand side. We come up to Penang Hill Station. Yeah. But who's this guy? This guy who built this like a very nice scenic, countryside road with a hut there, and then see there's like a waterway. It's actually the mill. Yeah. Running like a flour mill, and in fact, it also became a tourist attraction. So early days, when tourists came to Penang, there are a few things that they want to see. First was the big tree of Penang, and then the second one would be the waterfall. Botanic Gardens. Those days still open for public, so they could see. And this is also the top list where the tourists will come all the way just to look at this mill. So who built this mill? It was built by, of course, a Chinese. His name is Lo Ami. I think it's Mr. Lo lah. Ami, why Ami? Because we suspect it's actually the Hokkien word mill. We make noodles, so yeah. So he was very enterprising when he came to Penang. Those days, no noodle, the flour, the supply. So he actually started this mill using the water, running along this Sungai Putih to run the mills. They had to like a wheel thing, water wheels, and run and grind all the wheat and the corns, and also rice. So he is I think, the earliest supplier of noodle, bread, and daily bihun to our Penang Georgetown. Yeah, he was very enterprising. He invited tourists to come, and then they eat. And nowadays our souvenirs are selling them, and maybe at the commission, I don't know, something like that. So tourist attraction. Yeah. So you can see that. You can see that he's looks like a Chinese man on the slide on the corner. Wearing a hat, so it's Mr. Lo. Okay. And then, as another painting, then I can see Mr. Lo there again. So it was painted in also 1818, yes. So, yes. In fact, the bread, he also made bread to supply to Europeans. And also those ships came to Penang port, so we could enjoy fresh bread made by this guy. And then later we also saw something, the development. Maybe later, yes, he got money, maybe he expanded. Looks like a homestay resort here. So tourists love to come, and then I think they also bought things from the noodle or the bread from this guy. Yes, very enterprising. And I think this is how the tourism industry started in Penang those days. All these cottage industry workers. Right, and then and then surprise, of course, the whole things are gone a long time ago. And then along the way, we have this our Penang Hill coming out in 1923. Yes, this year we celebrate 100 years of this tram. And then along the way, yeah, we also actually there's some other developments. And this is like a swimming club here. We call Eastern Garden Amusement Park. So I think that location should be also where the army is supposed to be. And then it was open and very popular. The water is very clean, of course, and people loved it. Yeah. Unfortunately, after it opened, a few cases of drowning, and some people died, and then it was very bad publicity. So it only lasted just I think less than 2 years. So we had to close down. And then of course later we see those apartments all come out. So along the Penang Foothill down to this roundabout, right down roundabout, there's actually some of the very interesting attractions existed before. And now of course we have this the 𝐒𝐻𝐴𝐻𝐿, the temple, which is also a major religious site, where during the summit, during 𝐒𝐻𝐴𝐻𝐿, people will come here. So this place never failed to fascinate tourists. And next I want to talk about 𝐒𝐿 House because it's a very important landmark of Penang. And these paintings are brilliant. And a few painters those days. And look at the whole scenery. You can forget what is in the tropical island. So those days I think the British painters like to romanticize, make it look like the countryside of England, this right there. And the reason why it's 𝐒𝐿 because that was the hometown of Captain Francis Light. They came from Suffolk County in England. So of course he came here and he was homesick. So he acquired this land and then built a small cottage. So this building did not exist when Francis Light bought over because he died soon. Because he came here in 1786 and 8 years later he caught malaria and he died in 94, 8 years after. But this property will later develop into a big house there. It was used for like a governor's house for a long period of time. So you can see this very pictures, landscape, and there was a bridge there, which of course been reenacted. So a lot of story about this 𝐒𝐿 House. Another painting, this again by the Captain Robert Smith. And sometimes I think they need to copy from my mind because I still see the counts. You can see there's a count, and then you also have a count. Those days, of course they have to modify, otherwise copyright issues. But again, you see no coconut trees, everything looks very idyllic English countryside. And of course, this building only, this stately building only came about during another governor. We have the Governor Dundas, who was like the first governor in Penang after Penang became its own presidency. Previously, we were under the British India East India Company. Remember, of course, our first governors, strictly speaking, would be Cornwallis. That's why Fort Cornwallis was named after there. But in 1805, we were given like our own control. So after that, Governor Phillips started to build this state very grand building. For, of course, it's like the official building for the activities. I'm not sure if he also stays there. Right. So I want to talk about this 𝐒𝐿 House. Why? Because we have 3 prominent figures. So Captain Francis Light, he started with a small cottage, and then we had his son, Colonel William Light. And why I mention him because this year also marks the 50th anniversary of the Penang and Adelaide sister relationship. Yeah. Tonight, I had actually celebration the Penang recognition. Go to dance there. Don't know why asked me to dance, but anyway, this year is the 50th anniversary. And William Light, you know, where was he born? He was born in 𝐂𝐥𝐞𝐸, also 1786. Just a few months before Francis Light moved officially to Penang. So he was born in 𝐂𝐥𝐸 the same year, and he was brought up, yes, as a small kid in Penang. So where were their home? Officially, it was just next to the Compton Street. You know, there's a Padang there. Yeah, their home was there. Also, the very grand-looking, big house. So of course, after when Francis Light acquired this land in Suffolk, Suffolk House is so grand, built a small cottage. So William Light, as we knew, as a small boy, he was running in this Suffolk estate, maybe naked. But after a few years, he was sent back to England, where he was the parents decided he should be brought up in England. Yeah? So William Light, I'm sure he had a wonderful childhood in Penang, running in Georgetown and also the Suffolk House estate. Yeah. So, and now, of course, another one, Sir Stamford Raffles, also the founder of Singapore. Yeah. He came to Penang, yes, that was at the time Governor Dundas, also called the first governor of Penang. And was recruited and then worked here as a junior officer. Yeah, so he spent, I think, at least about 5 years in Penang. Yeah, he learned. He was a junior officer, but he learned how to run his town planning and things like that. So that's the reason why I think he got his experience. And later when he went to Singapore, he had this knowledge to start a new settlement there. So these three prominent figures spent their time in this Suffolk House or this estate here. So this is why we think it's so important that this building should always be, not only preserved but also well maintained. But unfortunately, Suffolk House went through a long period of deterioration and things like that. Especially, I can tell you that what happened that this building was later sold to other private sectors, and even like 𝐒𝐸𝐴𝐺, a very famous lawyer, also bought over. But then later, yes, we had this Methodist school came out, we had the Methodist church. So in 1928, yes, this Suffolk House was sold to Methodist school. At that time it's called Anglo-Chinese School. Methodist school, the name was changed later. And then it became the school canteen here. And then of course, as usual, many old buildings never maintained in Malaysia. We just let it wrong. And then in 1975, yes, the roof collapsed. So the canteen function was stopped. I still remember, because I spent 1 year there and did my lower 6 in the Methodist boys school here. So it was really close, and the whole building was terrible. And because there's a lot of issue there, the ownership of this building still under this Methodist school, but they didn't have money to restore it. So there was a crisis whether to demolish the whole building. Can you imagine? The governor's house of Penang, one stage was destined to be demolished. So anyway, they started some campaign trying to save Suffolk House. So this is how it looked like in 1990. The whole roof almost caved in. And at the back you can see this Methodist boys school. And there are a lot of proposals. Even the South Australian government, they wanted to help, to raise funds to save this building, but some political reasons, the Penang government rejected the help from South Australian government. Can you believe it? For political reasons. So what should we save Colonial building? And then it was how it looked like inside, very run down. But the structure the pillar structure, the brick structure are still very solid. Even the group came in, this in 1990s when we went in to take the pictures, you can see the wall is so solid. Yeah, the structure is there. Yeah, this is the ground floor. Now we this will be the okay, this is when we going up, you can see the tree going. You know this young chap, who was he? 𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿. 𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿 today is not here, but he also owned the bungalow here. Yeah, 𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿 in his younger days, he was very active in conservation. So we will all belong to this Penang Heritage Trust. We were one of the oldest conservation group in Malaysia, advocating this saving of the old, this heritage buildings. So we went in, do the survey and see how to restore it. Yeah. So we had a lot of workshops and talks about saving Sabah House and the history of sharing. Yeah. And then you see this is the upper floor, which is of course, as I mentioned, the roof almost gone, but the wall still and the pillars still intact. So there's still a chance to save. Yeah? I believe all the old buildings have a chance to be salvaged. We should not simply just demolish old buildings. Yeah? So look at the structure, the ceilings, things like that. Yeah. So what do you do? So we started the campaign. Yes, to raise funds. And of course, that time we are talking in the 1990s before our UNESCO inscription of Georgetown. But there was the awareness. A lot of buildings in Penang need to be saved as soon as possible. And then we had this fundraising, and thanks to HSBC's bank. At the time, I remember we need about 6 million ringgit to restore this building. So we approached HSBC Bank and said, all right, HSBC said, okay, if you can raise 1 ringgit, we will give you 1 ringgit. 1-to-1 to match. Yeah? So it means that we have to raise 3 million. And then HSBC will give us 3 million. And yes, the fundraising went on. It was very successful. We had a lot of teens, school students. Oh, by the way, the guy is Lawrence Low. Is the owner of the Blue Mansion. He was also at the time our trustee in the Penang Heritage Trust. He was the one who pushed for it. Yeah? So in fact, the whole project was under him. He also tried how to save the old colonial building. Yeah? And interesting, of course, you know how we raise the money so successfully. There were many pillars in this building. Yeah. So we told those rich people, can you help? If you donate, yes, this pillar column, you will have the name, your name, Dato. So you go in the outlet, so many Datos. Okay. That's how we raise funds. Yeah. And then also we had some prominent politicians, they gave a lot of money. So this is how the money came in. Yeah. So this good way, we want to raise funds. Make sure all this Dato get recognition. Of course, in the Chinese temple, you have the pictures. But here, we don't want to have the pictures. Not so nice. So the names will be associated with every pillar that they gave the money. We are not talking about the 500 ringgit, we are talking about this 10,000 and that. Yeah. So it was a very exciting project. And involving not just ourselves, but a lot of foreign experts. They all came and they taught us a lot about restoring old buildings. Yeah, and then so you see, finally, yes, it was fully restored. And then in the year 2008, we won this UNESCO Distinction Award for Conservation. Yeah, I want to mention about this award. This is very unique and very hard to get. Yeah, it's not easy. Every year there's very limited number of projects that can win this title from UNESCO. I think in Malaysia there 6 buildings that got this award, and 4 of these buildings are in Penang. Yes, the first one is a Blue Mansion in the year 2000, and then followed by this one, and then we have the Teochew Temple. And then last year we also had another Chinese temple, the Tai Pa Kung Temple in King Street, 4 buildings in Penang won the UNESCO award. The whole nation only had 6. So this is the pride of Penang, where we really pay efforts to save, not to save them, but to restore this building, to revert back to their former glory. So today, we also let it open to the public. It's a bad thing if you restore building and then close it to the public, and it starts to rot. I give an example. Town Hall is a bad example. After restore, they close it, and then they enter it. And now they spend a few million and they open again. I don't know how long they open. So it should not happen. It should be open all the time. If you have human activities, the YN will not come in. So today you can have a very good meal. There is a restaurant, and then also is event hall. Sometimes you can see classical music, performance, things like that. So it's open to the public. All these old buildings should always open to the public. And then, okay, so another thing I want to talk about, technology. That's so important. All the tourists to Penang always they have to compulsory to visit this 𝐒𝐸𝐿𝐶. So this is currently still the biggest Buddhist monastery in Southeast Asia. I think so. I've not heard of other. Maybe Thailand they come out some new one, but I think in terms of the Chinese temple style, in the Southeast Asia this is the biggest. But of course, history not that long. It only started in 1891 by a monk from China, from Fuzhou. This is the guy. He was born in 1844, and then he was invited to come to Penang to manage this the Kuan Yin Temple at King Street. And of course, there's a lot of dispute there. I think I was but of course, it was not very. He's a Buddhist monk, and then the Kuan Yin Temple at King Street is actually a Taoist temple. Of course, they have the one Kuan Yin statue and one Buddha statue, but the rest of the gods they are not. Under this Buddhism, it's still very much Taoism. We have all these prayers, and somebody see the lady there keeping this in the clock and the devil things that it's all Buddhist practice. So he wasn't very happy. So he said, okay, never mind. He's been called to manage this Kuan Yin temple, but at the same time was thinking, why not build a proper big Buddhist monastery for meditation, for prayer, and also to train more Buddhist monks. So this is how he came about, and then he started to raise funds, and then of course he chose Air Itam because the feng shui is so good. So you look around, oh, looks like a crane. I tried to figure out how it looked like a crane. But it was a very good valley. You can see the whole hill, and it started to raise funds. And then of course this 𝐒𝐸𝐿𝐶 temple you can see today still under construction. It never ends. Started in 1891, but you can see the old temple itself. We go out, and there's one old hall where we see the laughing Buddha, all this, and the four guardian frogs. That would be the beginning part of the temple. And then also the unique thing about this temple, it was consecrated by the Emperor of China during the Qing dynasty. There's no other temples that have this kind of status, like a royal temple. So this is the thing that we have in this 𝐒𝐸𝐿𝐶, the sacred Buddhist sutra of the dragon calendar. There are only 2 copies, one in China, Beijing, and the other one in Penang. It was given by Emperor Guangxu. No other temples in Southeast Asia got this honor except our 𝐒𝐸𝐿𝐶. And I think that's the reason why they have all the roofs in golden color. Because in China, temples usually are not allowed to have golden color unless you have association with the royalty, the emperor. So here, yes, all the golden colors. Good. And then besides the scriptures, we also have the writing by the Emperor Guangxu and his mother, the Dowager 𝐶. So again, I think in Southeast Asia, only in Penang you get the writing of the Emperor of China. Yes. So this is a real honor for the people of Penang. Yeah, we have this 𝐒𝐤𝐥𝐞𝐽 with the royal consecration. Yeah. So this is the monk, Reverend 𝐵𝐵𝐿, and thanks to him, he really had his vision, dream became a reality in Penang. They built this 𝐒𝐤𝐥𝐞𝐽 temple. And then, of course, some incident happened later. A lot of rumors say that he's having some affair with him, which is not true. Because he raised funds, and most of the donors were the rich men wives. So there was rumor running around that he was not happy. And then what happened? He actually, how to say? Okay, that is I don't want to mention it, but he injured himself. Yeah. But he was saved by this Dr. Wu Lianpei, a very famous doctor, and then but his health never recovered. So finally, he went back to China and died in China in 1907. Yeah, great guy. Yeah, visionary. And then occurred another thing with best most of us forgotten. The first Guan Yin statue. Yes. Okay, people in Penang, especially Chinese, always have the big statues. We have money built. The bigger, the grander, the taller, the better. Always like that. So this one, the first one came out in 1983. I still remember before that there was a lot of fundraising. Temples. It's good because this temple keep expanding. And then it was built something like 70 feet. It's supposed to be 100 feet, but reduced so high. I'm not sure because of funding, whatever. Yeah, it was built at the location where we see the new Guan Yin statue now, but just a few, I think, 20 meters away. So in fact, when it was completed, it was very grand. Yeah, you see this 1985, we have the first Guan Yin statue standing tall behind this pagoda. But by the way, the pagoda was only built after the 1920s. So it did not start at the same time of the old temple. At the time, there's a king of Thailand donated a lot of money. So that was why this pagoda has this sort of Thai architecture there. So you can see the Guan Yin standing tall at the back. But unfortunately, 1989, something happened. The casting of this Guan Yin statue, broke off. So not sure whether it's leaning or not. But actually it's not leaning, the structure is okay. But because the plaster all dropped out and it looks like it's leaning in front, and people start to worry, oh my god, is it collapsing or not? But you remember last time we could even enter that, the pedestal side is about 3 stories high. There's a staircase go into the Guan Yin statue body. Yeah, I still remember when the small boy went in there. But of course this looked very bad. Yeah, so it's like not safe. People say, some say yes, another, and also physician later was to remove it. So now we only see the half the body. Yeah, it's still part of it, like hiding behind a small building. And you went out to see there's still part of the body there. And then we have a new Guan Yin statue, which is much taller, standing there where it's supposed to be. So okay, another one. You notice right, there's a temple up on the right hand side. This temple, because we knew that the 𝐒𝐤𝐥𝐞𝐽 pagoda was in 1920s, so definitely it will be after 1920s that another pagoda up there. Yeah, and not much to record about that. Yeah, but I saw some of the photos, actually looks like a Thai influence. Yeah, Thai influence, so there were some monks doing prayer, but whether it really belonged to the 𝐒𝐤𝐥𝐞𝐽 or not is still questionable. Yeah, so it was even a bit postcard. Yeah, look at the architecture. That's like not really Chinese influence. Yeah, but again, most of the devotees who come is speak Chinese. Yeah, so maybe Enzo can help to find out what happened. Yeah, yeah, and then of course after it was voting gone. Either collapse or whatever. We still want to find out the mysterious temple up and behind this yeah. Okay, never mind. Okay.
Alright, and then I want to mention Itam. Before that, yeah, Itam was, of course, it's not as new as the. And then I can have a loudest voice. Right, Itam beginning as a settlement, a lot of coconut trees. Yeah, in the early days, a lot of coconut trees. You go up Penang Hill, all the coconut trees. So it developed over the years, and then a lot of Chinese, of course, settled in. And then you see the market, the whole town of Itam evolved. And then, of course, market. Yes, sir. There were farmers, vegetable farmers, some of them were Hakka. Yeah, they planted and brought their vegetable to the market to sell. And there was also quite a simple structure, Itam market. But unfortunately, on the Chinese New Year day, it caught fire. So some say because the Chinese played firecrackers, the whole thing burned and was gone. And it affected quite a lot of buildings along the way. Yeah. Along the corner there. So the whole thing was burned down, and then after that, yes, it was rebuilt. But it's also a place where during the Second World War, many refugees from Georgetown came in to settle. Yeah, I still remember my father told me what happened during the war. Georgetown was bombed and no electricity. People were panicked. They started to walk to the Itam, and stay here. I cannot remember why so many came, because Itam was not really quite safe as well. Yeah. And then yes, after that you can see the whole thing started to develop, and Itam and the 𝐒𝐥𝐞𝐴𝐵 also owned a huge piece of land, which today is the Faling. Yeah. Faling last time is the vegetable plantation, cemetery, coconut. There are a lot of coconut trees as before they developed. Because I was from Zhongli High School, I still remember artifacts in the jungle, something like that, Kampung Pisang. So today, Itam is so much modernized with a high rise, but in the old days, it was very idyllic. Yeah, the water is clean, the food is good as well. Yes, I always enjoy the food in Itam, not Georgetown now. Okay, this is my last slide. Okay, remember, the tram that we have is only 1923. But before the train up, funicular funicular train, only 1923. But 1906, we already have these electric train all the way from Georgetown to Air Itam. Yeah, you can see how those days I won't say it's always good about British, but I think it was quite visionary. Yeah, they already introduced the electric tram all the way to Itam. So Itam could be developed. Yeah. So I think we should revert back to this. People were very visionary those days. They had the idea how to plan for a town, for growth. Yeah. And imagine if this train still around, how good are we? Don't have to drive all the way. The traffic jam can be solved. Yeah. Okay, so that's my last slide, and then thanks for this together with me. Yes, our Dr. Tan very smart. He's lecturer. I told him no need now. You have the mic. They said no. I will bring my own mic. And yes, it's now useful.
Okay, thank you so much, Kevin, for the history of Ayah Puteh and Air Itam. Ladies and gentlemen, so sorry about our mic. Must have angered the guardian of the mystery temple just now.
Does Ayah Puteh also in particular, how does it associate with this item?
Actually, Air Itam, all over Malaysia, there are many towns called Air. There's one in Johor. So usually people come, black water, okay, Air Itam.
Nothing to do with item.
Yeah, so Air Puteh, of course, the water is very clean. That's why it's Air Puteh. Yeah, so very simple name, but it tells us how this river was named in under what condition. So we have Air Puteh. I think we should promote.
Okay, so perhaps if we could keep the questions to after Dr. Tan's presentation, you can gather all your questions and ask our panel speakers your burning questions later. So, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to introduce Dr. Tan Ki Seng, a senior lecturer at the History section of the School of Humanities in University Science Malaysia. Dr. Tan obtained his doctorate in Chinese Studies, Chinese History, from the National University of Singapore in 2017, and both his MA in Southeast Asian History and Bachelor from USM. He specializes in modern Chinese history and overseas Chinese history. His articles have been published in scholarly journals and books in Chinese, English, and Malay. He was a visiting student at the Institute of Modern History at the Academia Sinica in Taiwan. Dr. Tan, the stage is yours.
Allow me to stand up so I can hear it easily. Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'll bring you to something special, some sort like a tour guide, and also to bring back your nostalgia. My title today is Education Wonders Across Centuries, Discovering Pioneers and Changes of Education in Malaysia around Penang Hill. Which actually I want to let you know that around Penang Hill, within the vicinity of Penang Hill, and in 𝐿 Itam, actually there are some education wonders beside the wonders in Penang Hill. Okay, first of all, today the outline is Penang Hill Festival. No, actually, PHF is started by prelude, then history. Okay, for the history part, we'll go by not so memorizing history, but we go like a trail to visit the education wonders. And then finally, F is the findings and future. To add, double add. Okay, the prelude. Now you are all in this hotel, and later when you walk out, and from there you view down to the Penang Hill. But before you view down the Penang Hill, okay, just now as mentioned and credited to Enzo, actually there's some education or school institutions on this Penang Hill. From the, okay, after especially post 1948, after the Malayan emergency, okay, the crack, the primary boarding school, okay, later it's Uplands and also Tangin boarding school from Singapore because this communist insurgency, and then later the Cameron Highland boarding school. Okay, this one brief because actually credited to Enzo. Okay, some of the info being given by Enzo, or also on this Penang Hill. But actually, let's go back to look down, the view down to below the Penang Hill. Actually, there's something special of the education institutions below the Penang Hill, and actually around 𝐿 Itam. Okay, now I consider it as education wonders. Why I consider it as education wonders? Because firstly, it based on my research experiences. During my masters, I did some research about 𝐶𝐭 Primary School, the first primary school, the first modern style Chinese primary school in Penang, Malaysia, and also Southeast Asia as well. And then later, after my PhD, I had the chance, the opportunities with some of my seniors in Singapore. Chongming seniors, I am the Chongming alumni, similar, same as the Gremilian. I have some seniors with me. They want me to participate in the project to come up with Chongling Centennial History. Chongling 100年校史. Okay, so I have the opportunity to read through some of the sources about Chongling for the past 100 years. Then last year, I also had the opportunities being given the book The Saviourian Journey about the St. Xavier Institution, about the more than 100 years history by Prof. Chiniwa, for me to make a book review in Kajian, Malaysia. So from that research experiences, I found that some of those schools and their primary schools, okay, earlier stage in Georgetown, but later they shifted to 𝐿 Itam and quite near the Penang Hill. Okay, and if you notice or analyze those schools, okay, apart from lengthy history across centuries from 19th century, okay, some of the schools in Malaysia you could find they also have lengthy history. But not only lengthy history, but they are also the pioneers and changers. They are pioneers and changers that game changers and have great influences towards Malaysia, primary and secondary, not only English since the colonial period, but also Chinese, Malay or Islamic, and then Tamil educations, which you can find in Penang Preschool as well. And their influences and their famous is not only in Penang, but some expanded to Malaysia and some even South Asia for Chinese and English primary and secondary education. Okay, now maybe could you help me to click? Okay, let's go. Okay, help me to click this one. Walk down Air Itam Road. Yeah, this one.
Walking down from the Penang Hill,
Later when you walk down Penang Hill,
and if you walk down this Penang Lower Station towards the town area.
okay, let's go. Now, so you walk down from Penang Hill, then go down to the Air Itam after roundabout, Air Itam Road. First, the second part, history. After roundabout, then later you pass by a few traffic lights. You'll reach 𝐿𝐿𝐿 Private School, or 𝐿𝐿𝐿 Independent School, followed by 𝐿𝐿𝐿 High School. Now, about 𝐿𝐿𝐿 High School, actually, several years ago, because I have actually with several professors and also friends, alumni from Singapore, we came up with 𝐿𝐿𝐿 Centennial History. Okay, if you look from the history, it's from 1917, but actually the 1917 is the establishment of the primary sections. It's not secondary. Only until when actually Penang competed with Singapore. Singapore, they came up with Hwa Chong Institution, and actually before 𝐿𝐿𝐿, Penang Knights, they came up with Hwa Chia Secondary School, but only 1 or 2 years they closed down. And later, some of those equipments and facilities, they inherited to 𝐿𝐿𝐿 High School. And 𝐿𝐿𝐿 High School in 1923, or 𝐿𝐿𝐿 School in 1923, they opened up the secondary school sections. And it became, the first Chinese secondary school in Malaya, excluding Singapore, in Malaysia as well. Okay? And then in 1935, 𝐿𝐿𝐿, before that, for that period, 1917, 1923 up to 1935, 𝐿𝐿𝐿 was located firstly at Lebong Melayu, then later to Magister Road. Today you go to Penang Polymetric Union, okay, 并着叶书报社, that is the location, where the former 𝐿𝐿𝐿 was there. And 1935, they moved to Air Itam area. And you could find out that, today this is a 𝐿𝐿𝐿 field. Maybe you say it's a normal field. But during that time, these were the pictures of the 𝐿𝐿𝐿 Centennial history. During that time, 1935, when they moved in, according to record, it was the best school field in the whole secondary schools, Chinese secondary schools in Malaysia, including Singapore. Excluding, compared to Penang Preschool, is also quite good. But for the Chinese secondary school, this is the best field. For the sport activities, all those sports extracurricular activities was held there, and even the whole Malaysia, the sport activities was held there. So it's the best school field during that time, 1935. And also at that time, with the 𝐿𝐿𝐿 fathers, we call the 𝐿𝐿𝐿 fathers, Chen Chong-en, David Chen Chong-en from the Nanjing, with the bilingual policy and others policy, which helped to boost up the famous, and also how 𝐿𝐿𝐿 became the top Chinese secondary school in Malaysia. Then if you went down the historical trail, in 1956, when the colonial government they wanted to give some of the financial assistance to those schools to conform to the government system, the education system. 𝐿𝐿𝐿 also the first Chinese secondary school in the whole Malaysia, to become the conforming school, and it brings effects. But this one is debatable because there's a pro and con. Some say 𝐿𝐿𝐿 betrayed the Chinese education, but some say 𝐿𝐿𝐿 actually they try to save themselves. This one is another question, another issue to be discussed. So there are several firsts for 𝐿𝐿𝐿 school. This one the earlier. Now if you go to Penang, Magister Road, Penang Polymetric Union, this is 𝐿𝐿𝐿 school, and today 𝐿𝐿𝐿 school. This is a school field that I mentioned, and there's a best school field during that time. Okay, then we, after 𝐂𝐥𝐞𝐿 School, before we reach the State Mosque, we turn right. At the right hand side, there's a primary school which is Chonghua Confucian Primary School A and B. Actually, this school, the earliest stage is in Penang Chinese Town Hall, when it's established in 1904 in the Pingzhang Gongguan, Penang Chinese Town Hall, the former name Pingzhang Association, okay, in Penang Chinese Town Hall. Okay, so during that time, when it being established, is the first modern Chinese primary school in Malaysia and also Southeast Asia as well, and being given like 𝐒𝐿𝐴 temple, okay, but Emperor Guangxu, a special plate, indicated this is one of the best schools in Southeast Asia, 身教济南, because another one is given to 𝐒𝐿𝐴. So you see how Chonghua primary schools gained the fame and also recognized by the Chinese government. Okay, and at that time is Penang Chinese Town Hall. Then later they moved to Jalan Maxwell, Road Maxwell, and today Jalan Dr. Lim Chu Leong. Okay, this one is the earlier school building, but now being demolished. Now it's around the Penang Mall area, being demolished. And you could find that in 1980s it moved to 𝐴 Itam. The Chonghua Primary School A and B moved to 𝐴 Itam. Okay, so coincidentally, like 𝐂𝐥𝐞, from the Georgetown, 𝐴 Itam. Okay, then if you turn left, you will reach the Sangmu Primary School. Okay, Sangmu Primary School, actually, if you trace for the predecessor, is today in Chulia Street. This one, Wu Su Yan. Okay, in Chulia Street, where Wu Su Yan. Okay, which actually is the school of the fifth happiness. Okay, fifth happiness, prosperity and others. Okay, and during the 60s, 70s, and 80s, some of the scholars, some researchers, they consider, okay, even from Toronto in Canada, they consider this school, okay, before Sangmu Primary School, the School of Five Happiness, Wu Su Yan, as the first Chinese school. Okay, it's not modern, it's the first Chinese school, okay, including the traditional, not only in Penang but in Malaysia and Southeast Asia, but still debatable. Okay, because there's quite a long debate lah. Okay, they say not because actually that time around end of 19th century they only established this Wu Su Yan, the School of Five Happiness. That time is actually, if you read from the colonial government's officials and records, they still call it as Fuk Tong. Okay, it's an association, Chinese association, not an institution or education institution. Okay, earlier is Church Street, then later they moved to Julia Street. Okay, before 1909, from the Wu Su Yan, they established the Sangmu Primary School. Okay, and also coincidentally, they also moved to 𝐴 Itam area in the 1977 to 𝐴 Itam area. So it's today Sangmu Primary School. Actually, this one is being renovation, and the second renovation in the around 2000 by the board of directors, Datu 𝐿𝐴. Okay, so actually the first 1977, then later they renovate, they build up again to become today's quite modern and new Sangmu Primary School. Okay, then if you go straight from Sangmu Primary School, then you reach to next to Sangmu is actually the St. Xavier's Primary School. Okay, now if you trace for St. Xavier Primary School, the earliest is in the Fakwa Street. It's actually the St. Xavier institutions. There came out a book by the Professor Francis Goh from USM, and I did a book review about it. The Xavier Journey. Okay, so the Xavier Journey actually show you that the St. Xavier institution is the first Lassallean education institution in Asia. You can find that a lot of these St. George and other schools in like Philippines, Hong Kong, Singapore, they all originated from this XSI, the Lassallean education. You can read from the Xavier Journey by Prof. Francis Goh and their friends. And in the early stage as Fakwa Street, okay, then later, also with the primary school, later in the 1990, okay, this school actually is La Salle Primary School. Then before they changed to the St. Xavier Primary School in the 1990s until today. Okay, so it also this school had actually its origins from the SSI in Fakwa Street. Okay, now St. Xavier institution. Okay, then after that, if you just go straight 𝐸 Itam Road, the traffic junction, you turn right again, you reach Green Lane. Actually, I consider still within the 𝐸 Itam area. It's the PFS, Penang Preschool. Okay, the earlier of Penang Preschool actually is 116 at Love Lane. Okay, then later 121 to Farquhar Street, actually side by side with the extensive institution competition between these two schools. And if you maybe hear some of you maybe from PFS, it's the oldest English medium schools in Malaysia and also South Asia as well. And also, if you read from some of the records and also being done some research by Professor Siva Chandra from University of Malaya, just retired a few years ago, he also mentioned that actually there was a first timer class in PFS. And also there's a first Chinese class in PFS as well. But the first early stage is they want to study Chinese Bible. Later they will try to have some interpreters. I read from the records from Robert L. Jarman. Okay, so this one first. But that time is in this area, the Penang Museum. Okay, if you look further here, you see here PFS. The logo of PFS still there. So if one day you walk down around Penang Museum, today still renovation, you just have a look, or maybe some binoculars, you have a look. The logo still there. The legacy of PFS still with Penang Museum. Okay, still Penang Museum. So only then later in the 127 they moved to the Greenland area. Okay, Greenland area. Okay, so 116 to it, they say they have this 200 years, a few years ago, 200 years. They also came up with the Singapore PFS Alumni Association with the one book about on free, some sort of the title of book about free. Okay, so in Greenland, okay, so they actually you see our these fathers of independence, Tunku Abdul Rahman, a lot of these the pioneers in our this education or politics in Malaysia. They came from Penang Preschool. Okay, so they still have this legacy. Okay, this one earlier. You see, if you compare today and the previous one, okay, because they're being bombarded during the Second World War and then renovation. Okay, from this to this. Okay, and if just now I mentioned, when for the traffic light, you turn right, okay, you reach Penang Preschool. But if you turn left, okay, and maybe later you have a turn from roundabout, came back, okay, to the left hand side, you will come to Al-Mashur Islamic Boys School, AIBS. Okay, for Al-Mashur Islamic Boys School, okay, this is Madrasah Al-Quran, okay, in 116 Achin Street. It's the second. The first one is actually in the Province Palace in Bukit Tajam. It's the second madrasah in during that time in Malaysia. But it actually have some influences to those kaum muda, okay, kaum muda, those in the Malay like lefty-righties, okay, during the earliest of 20th century. Okay, then only in 1918 from the Madrasah Al-Quran, because there's Al-Mashur, the first Al-Mashur, changed the name to 1918 at Kampung Jawa Lama to Madrasah Al-Mashur 1918. Then 1920 Lembul Teksut, and finally again and coincidentally to 𝐸 Itam area 1979, 1981, yes, 𝐸 Itam. And actually this about this school, my colleague Professor Dr. Mani Musa, they actually have some oral history. They came out with one book, okay, very small book about Al-Mashur School. Okay, you can type Dr. Mani Musa with this book. My colleague, he's in Malay. Okay, so this Al-Mashur, okay, the lucky, and also actually another girls' school. Actually, both actually have same origins. Okay, today Al-Mashur. Okay, and if you later for Al-Mashur came out for Al-Mashur, then you look, okay, here across the road you will find Hanjiang. Okay, okay. Hanjiang, actually we call it Hanjiang schools with S because it actually is three institutions. The primary actually originated from here. Okay, the UNESCO, awarded UNESCO by 𝐒𝐤𝐞𝐬𝐿, right? Those several they actually renovate these Hanjiang, this one Hanjiang House Temple, and actually this one is actually the earliest location for Hanjiang Primary School. Okay, in 1919, but to cater for those from Teochew, because in the early 20th century and also the end of 19th century, those schools like from the House Temples Association, they cater for their own dialects. Before 1904, it established the Zhonghua Primary School, they catered for all, not only the one dialect, but all for the Chinese to study at the Zhonghua Primary School. Okay, so that time is to left street, 1919. Then later, okay, in 1950, Lim Yan Ting, okay, also Teochew, philanthropist, and Okay, he bought, he donated the road around that Lim Teng Road, okay, to build not only Hanjiang Primary School, but also establish the Hanjiang Secondary School. That time Hanjiang Secondary School actually had a competition with Zhongli High School. Because if you read from the history of Hanjiang Secondary School, because my student from China, Yang, okay, he wrote in Malay. He did some research about Hanjiang, and we found that Hanjiang at earlier stage, the principal with a PhD holder, and some of the teachers even with PhD as well. So it's a whole PhD teachers and principal. It's one of the pioneers to have so many PhD holders as a teacher and principal at that time to compete with Zhongli. Okay, so the Hanjiang. Then later 1999, okay, they established Hanjiang College, and 2017 Hanjiang University College of Communication. So it considered as 3-in-1, okay, with the primary school and also secondary school and also the higher education. Okay, education. Another one is in the southern part, okay, Funiu Primary School and Funiu High School, and also the Southern College. So that one is north in Penang, and then one is south in this Johor. Okay, so just I think 3 days ago, Hanjiang actually they have a press conference. They want to build an education hub, Hanjiang 𝐒𝐥𝐞𝐬, something like that lah. They want to build an education hub based on this Hanjiang HUC. Okay, also 3-in-1 Northern West Malaysia, as I mentioned. Okay, and finally, when you out from Hanjiang and you just walk down this street, okay, you will reach Methodist Boys School, MBS. Okay, actually I also an alumni of MBS because it's the same like Raymond. We are from Zhongli. Our Form 6 because I'm studying arts. We will go to MBS to study our Form 6 formers. And Met Boys School MBS earlier is Anglo-Chinese School, and it's the earliest, you will see, the oldest Methodist school in Malaya and Malaysia, excluding Singapore as well. And the primary is 191 at Carnival Street, then Julia Street, okay, later Penang Road and Maxwell Road before moved to 155 MBS Air Itam, and also PHF still there, but today have changed to MCKL. Okay, and then later Suffolk House, because that time I still study MBS, I can feel that nearly want to collapse Suffolk House. At that time we are restricted for entering that if we will get demerit lah. He said cannot enter, it's larangan at that time. Okay, so 155, okay, MBS, Air Itam, then later today the MBS still there. Okay, MBS still there, but the PHF at the PHF Road, they changed to MCKL. Okay, MCKL branch in Penang. Okay, Medical College Kuala Lumpur, the branch in Penang. Okay, so this one earlier, Anglo-Chinese School, later and MBS for the boys' school. Okay, so my final this conclusion about my findings and about future. My finding is you can find out that within the vicinity of Penang Hill, along the Air Itam Road, you can find those pioneers and changes. Okay, they are not only concentrated within this area, but they have influences and impact beyond Air Itam area to Penang, to Malaysia, and even to South Asia. Okay, and another thing, they moved to Georgetown. Earlier stage in Georgetown, those several areas, and then moved to Air Itam and close to Penang Hill. Is it a coincidence? There's some questions to raise, and maybe we can later, some of you here, maybe can conduct research about it. Is it because the scenery is so beautiful? It's so nice to study there. You get A or straight A. Maybe you can see PFS, SDPM, SPM, or maybe they studied later. They go to Penang Hill. They say we got A every A, 100%, and then PFS, Zhongling. See, is it because scenery or feng shui? Because some board directors say, oh, this one feng shui because. Okay, sorry to say, 𝐿𝐿𝐵𝐻, but no C lah, but the fact is Penang Hill, maybe some feng shui, okay, geomancy of Chinese geomancy, or maybe just now I mentioned because scenery is so good, the green and better environment, because you know, Penang Hill has been declared as Penang Hill Biosphere Reserve, PHBR. And another thing for us to think about, is it maybe it's the best expansion location site, apart from just now mentioned about the scenery and also the environment, maybe because it's just next to Georgetown. Okay, next to Georgetown, so maybe the best location is quite near Georgetown lah. Okay, so and beyond next to Georgetown. Okay, this 100 years. So for this, that one is the 100 years, the pioneer changes and how they relocate. And then how about the future? Another 100 years. Okay, maybe our sons and our grandchildren. After 100 years, we sit down here, and maybe my grandson maybe they discuss, okay, my grandfather, my father discussed about this 100 years, 500 years. How about today? Another century. Could we keeping with the traditions of that pioneer changes? PFS, MBS, Zhongling, Shangwu, Zhonghua.
Why all boys school?
Actually, there's a mix. Hanjiang.
All boys school.
Hanjiang is a mix. MBS six formers.
No, they're still boys.
Boys school lah, yeah. But Hanjiang.
Why the girls one don't study, man?
Yeah, they study. But maybe a coincidence. We can do a research. Is it something to do with some of these gender differences? Okay.
Maybe.
Maybe
Should be.
Yeah.
Maybe. Not allowed to study.
To study. For my colleagues in US and gender study to study. Is it possible?
Yes.
Okay, there's some data maybe they can collect to
And
study.
maybe you should let us know.
Yeah. Next year maybe can. So develop of those schools, but we can see the shifting trend. A lot of this population in this area they actually move to like Bayan Baru, Bayan Lepas. You see Heng Porte. So maybe some of the school, if you read from the news, they're facing some.
Thank God you didn't move to Tanjung Bukit.
The dropping of the students, so enrollment of those schools. Okay, because of Bayan Baru in Bayan Lepas, those schools like Porte I mentioned, and also some international schools. So and also maybe we can conduct some research about the overall education history of this area. Okay, about why just now mentioned by Madam about maybe why they so all boys school. Okay. So this one actually we want to conduct. This one brings the question the future. We will conduct. And so we can have like the research. This one to raise the issues awareness for the biologists or environmentalists, historian, educationalists. Maybe they can conduct research about why those are boys school, the genders, or maybe how their policy. Okay. And another thing for us to embark for Penang Hill Penang Hill Corporation to embark is maybe they become like those who educate wonders and other adjacent tourist attractions to attract tourists. Like okay, after you come to Penang Hill, later you have some tourist guide to bring you around those schools. Those schools they have 100 years, 200 years. They have pioneer changes. Maybe some sort of like tourist attractions as educating wonders from just now I mentioned Enzo, like around the track and also Uplands to around Penang Hill for those to embark on those education. So this one. Later maybe you can go down from Penang Hill to the later to be down to Penang Hill then for the 100 years. Okay, so this one is my presentation. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tan, for that virtual tour that we had of the schools. You know why no school? Because we went by, at the junction, we turned right to free schools. That is by right lah. By left, you go further down, got St. George's already.
Common feeling as well. And yes, yeah.
Yes, a few more schools.
So right is boys, left is girls. Good one.
So the boys can study better.
Well, yeah, left is good and common green is
That's right, left is St. George's.
That's right, yeah. I mean, if I'm gonna guess that a lot of us here are from Penang, so there's always the education pride, I feel, in most of us. So Dr. Tan mentioned a lot of the schools here, which I am pretty sure some of you are alumni, members of those schools which we mentioned just now. So I will open the floor to questions now. Feel free to ask our speakers any questions that you may have. Okay, the gentleman.
Yeah, going back to your issue of why the schools along the Air Itam Road transact. Maybe you want to consider this. I mean, let's look at history. Early 19th century, the British colony, basically the town were either the whites or were the rich Chinese residences who tend to send their kids to the mission schools. If you look at Air Itam at that time, it was mainly the agriculturalists. The Chinese agriculturalists means, remember, Paya Terbong was just a vegetable farm. Penang Hill was growing fruits and vegetables. So they wanted to educate the kids, but they were Chinese dialect. So schools tend to be near communities. So if the bulk of the community was in the Air Itam, Payatarobong, Transact, then of course the leaders of the Chinese community probably decided to build the schools nearer there, okay, in order to serve the community. Whereas the richer Chinese, who are the businessmen and all, actually in Georgetown send their kids to mission schools, and of course government schools. Then why is there less ladies and more boys, less girls' school moment? Well, if you look at the early 19th century, it's a patriarchal society. The girls stay at home, the boys got to find a vocation. So that if they have limited resource, they will fund the boys. So they will become the earners for the family in the future. Let me explain.
So, you know, with the whole history of the colonial administrators, you know, up on Penang Hill those days, and with the elite stature of the bungalows, which I feel, you know, the legacy of a very elitist sort of society on the hill. You know, how does this? What do you think, basically? How does this continue to influence the social perceptions of Penang Hill today?
Well, so Penang Hill, it finds its beginning, from the colonial days, and as I mentioned at first, it was exclusively for the colonial gentry, peoples like this, and even after it became privatized, you have lands available to be purchased, like this Halliburton's Hill, purchased by Halliburton. They are all still the elites of the colonial society, and even after independence. Today, we can still see that it was just merely a transfer of ownership from the British colonialists to the elites of the Penang society, the Malaysian society. And to purchase a house over here is, I would say, much harder than you purchase a Rolex or a Patek Philippe watch. So it means that even you have the money, it doesn't necessarily mean that you would be able to purchase one. So there's this exclusiveness over there, and to experience this, you can just simply walk up to the Bel Retiro bungalow up there. You can only walk and up until the gates, and then all the time as a kid, myself, I look into beyond the gates, and I would imagine what is beyond that gate. So the exclusiveness is still there even until today. So I would say it's to us it's still very it's a special sanctuary for certain privileged ones. But then today we are very lucky and fortunate to have agencies like Penang Hill Corporation, which has opened up the accessibility of the hill. First by instating the whole overhauling of the funicular railway to make it easier to come up here, and also with fewer breakdowns, unlike in the past during the red and white coaches era, and also through events like this, which are open to everyone, literally everyone from all across the world, no matter your nationality, your background. So this is what is at the same time wonderful about Penang Hill. And so the roles and the roles that I mentioned just now sets it apart from the two other hill stations of Malaysia, namely Cameron Highlands, which is right now very badly polluted with overdevelopment, skyscrapers, more than 20 stories high, condominiums made as Airbnb, and illegal farming encroaching the lands as well. And also, if we look at Fraser's Hill, it's having a very hard time to get funds to renovate its amenities, its facilities like roadworks and all. So it really sets. This is what sets Penang Hill apart from the two hill stations, and most importantly, this is the oldest one from 1788. Whereas Fraser's Hill was 1919, Cameron Highlands was it was discovered in 1886, but then it wasn't really developed late into the 1920s. So Penang Hill is still the one. And even though as a Penangan, I've already been working and living in Penang. Living in KL, but since last year. But when Penang Hill calls, I'll always come back. Yeah. So that's a few.
I say that you're right. There's a certain charm to Penang Hill, I would say, and also when certain places are out of bounds, like Bell Retiro, because it belongs to the governor. Right? So when you have places which are restricted like that, doesn't that make you feel even more intrigued of to peep of what it looks like behind the gates? Yes, please, question.
Okay. My dad was a postmaster in Penang Hill, but I don't see the post office already. Is it been turned into a police station? Because my dad and my mom were courting at that time, so I was told that when they want to come down for night movies, they got to tell the station master that they are coming down, and then we'll take them up by something like 11. But where's the post office? No more post office, right?
It's now down there, but it's the previously the earthquake one.
Oh,
There's a toy museum.
Toy museum.
It's toy museum.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh,
it's
no more.
now no more post office. Oh.
It stopped in 2004, right? Mr. Ng is the chairman sitting behind there. He's the chairman of the Philatelic Society.
Oh.
So for postal collectors to get the postmark of Penang Hill on postcards is something very special. It doesn't exist anymore.
So there's no more post office.
No.
I see.
A very good morning to everybody. Okay, I just want to have a very simple question. Okay, what wonders today? The discussion here is about Penang Hill and about the surrounding Air Itam. What we have forgotten is what lies behind Penang Hill. Like for instance, 𝐒𝐥𝐞𝐬𝐸. You mentioned about 𝐒𝐥𝐿𝐸. What lies behind 𝐒𝐥𝐸𝐸? Which I usually hiked. Mr. Clement will know. I hiked from 𝐒𝐥𝐸𝐸, I'll reach where? Air Itam Dam, right? Air Itam Dam, you go further, you reach Balik Pulau, right? A forgotten area of Penang is the Balik Pulau, which Mr. David also agrees. Okay, it's an area, okay, and there's a link, okay, between the Air Itam and the Balik Pulau also. Like for instance, the 𝐒𝐥𝐸𝐸 versus the Balik Pulau Buddhist heritage in Balik Pulau, right? So I believe the future is not somebody you're asking about the future of, perhaps we can look beyond the horizon of Air Itam, other than Georgetown, behind the Air Itam, what lies behind can possibly link to Balik Pulau, because Balik Pulau also have St. George, also have all the churches, closely linked, but is somehow the area is forgotten by tourists. I mean, many people, only recent times, Mr. Clement agree, right? Recent times only, now is the awakening of Balik Pulau. It's the new century. I'm from Balik Pulau, I just traveled now. And then I got to wait, because it doesn't link, Balik Pulau doesn't link to Penang Hill, I got to come down and come up. So, okay, I'll cut it short. So, I hope there will be some link between Penang Hill and Balik Pulau and the surrounding, and including Teluk Bahang, Tanjung Bunga, because Bukit Bendera is under the Tanjung Bunga area, but it's different from Balik Pulau is Teluk Bahang, so it's a bit different, I hope there will be a link. Thank you.
Don't cut the trees. Enough link already. We have Bukit Kukus link already. So much trees we cut.
Any other questions? I don't know.
Yes. Yeah, earlier I saw a slide. You said Capri slaves from Madagascar.
Yes.
What is that? Is it a place or?
Yeah. So Capri slaves, right? Let's go back to the earlier slide during the flag post. So during when the first flag post observatory station was constructed in Mount Escape, so it was mentioned in archival documents that a group of sentinels, British soldiers, spotters with binoculars, and a group of Capri slaves from Madagascar were stationed up in the observation post. So Capri slaves, after researching it, it is actually the corruption of the word kafiri. So at that time, Madagascar is a French colony in the 19th century. The French, their first encounter with the local Madagascarians, it was not a peace war. So they came to colonize and conquest the area. So they brought back the Madagascar natives back to France, and they became slaves. They were sold as slaves. So they couldn't pronounce the Arabic word kafiri, and they just which means non-believers, by the way, non-believers. And kafir, and it became kafis. Yeah.
So I have a question for Clement. Yeah, okay. So built heritage, as we have learned from your presentation just now, like the mysterious temple, they are impermanent, right? Unless, so there's a natural cost of life to these buildings unless we actually make conscious efforts to preserve them, right? So what is the importance of remembering them?
These buildings, especially those old historical buildings, they are the witness to the past. That's why I look at Georgetown. Why is it listed as a UNESCO World Heritage? Because we have more than 4,000 old buildings, pre-war, 100 years old. If you tear them down, you build a new town with high-rise, you do not get that kind of the witness of the past. You see the continuity, how Georgetown developed in the early days until, of course, outside Georgetown we have a lot of high-rise. So all these buildings that tell the stages of the history, how your town developed, and also, yes, and then we could feel it with the buildings there. You cannot tell the history if you are in a shopping center. You can't. So, for example, all these schools demolished in the Georgetown, Maxwell Road, all this, it's very hard to tell. All right, now we are in this Penang Mall. Last time, wow, the Confucius School was there. This very grand building. So, yeah, it's like you have to look at the pictures, just imagine. But I would say, good to have like our State Museum. You see, wow, Penang Preschool was there. It tells you how stately it was, what happened in those days. That's why I think not to say all, but many of the old historical buildings should always be preserved. They should not be easily, let go without fight. Let's say that. Example house is a good example.
So as much as possible, we shouldn't let them deteriorate.
Yeah, maintain it. Or I would say that a lot of the old buildings in Georgetown have been repurposed. Alright, people move out, we use it as the cafe, boutique hotels, but it's better than demolish the whole thing and let it disappear.
Yeah, there's always been a debate of the issues of gentrification, but you're right, I think that the most important thing is that there's human activity.
We keep continuing use the buildings. We are not like cavemen. We also evolve. Human society evolve. We are modern human beings. We cannot expect, okay, you still live in the old house. We cannot use electric stuff, to wash your clothes. No. We evolve. But the buildings provide us with that kind of the platform to continue with our modern lives. We can always adapt these old buildings for our modern usage. I think shop houses is a very good example. You go in, you feel the coolness of the wall, and then the air well, the surprise, the small garden inside. It's very suitable for human living compared to the modern apartments that we have. So we should use it. That space as well, yes.
If there are no questions for the moment, I will go on and ask Dr. Tan. So you were talking about the education institutions on Penang Hill, but also in the vicinity, and we noticed that there are a lot. It's a mixture of Sino and Anglo education as well as Islamic education. So how do you think this legacy has shaped the society residing in Penang Hill and its vicinity?
Actually, we see from just now I mentioned 𝐒𝐥𝐞𝐬𝐿𝐴𝐶 lah. 𝐒𝐒𝐥𝐶 actually built before Chongqing, Perhaps is considered as a Buddhist monastery, one of the largest in South Asia. And also we can see another state mosque. State mosque is a recent one. And beside that there's a churches like the Methodist Church at Itam, Itam Methodist Church at AIMC, and also another Catholic church there. So you can see actually those legacy is actually they work together with those region institutions. So it's actually some sort we can consider like a harmonious society with those the mixture of the education institution. Because you know that there's recently actually I think 2 years ago there's a harmonious street, harmonious street in Kapitan Keling. I think I just suggest maybe we can have a harmonious education institution, Itam Road because you can see there's a mixture of Anglo, of Islamic, and Chinese, Indian school, or they are in Itam area. So actually they close to each other. Actually for the maybe past 100 years, actually they work together, they live together, and also the competition. So I think there's something legacy between us. But I think maybe I'll add just now the gentleman's mentioned about those school, why boys school, and also just now Madam mentioned about boys school. Because several days ago, last week, because I just prepared a talk Tuesday in Hanjiang, and actually before that I read through some of the colonial government's reports. If you read through, I call it the Red Book. We call the annual report of the Strait Settlements. There is 12 volumes. If you read for those the influx of immigrants, especially the Chinese migrants, immigrants from China, there's imbalance of the gender. Okay, the more male compared to the female. So it can also explain why in the earliest days, like end of the 19th century and also early 20th century, more is boys' school. Because the influx of migrants, most, and also you can see the influx of those children in that book. Because as I mentioned, it's the annual report of Strait Settlements. Actually, it's a very simple report. Because actually from that 12 volume, there's another one, we call it the annual departmental report. Those you need to read from the microfilm. That one is details. That means, let's say the data like maybe male and female, and if we read the annual departmental report, the statistics even they have like the dialects, how they came in, etc. So from those data you can see is the imbalance of the genders until maybe after 2030s. I mean the gender there's the changes in the ratio of the genders. Okay, thank you.
Do you research only on boys' schools? What about the girls' schools? Like the convent, Green Lane Convent, Methodist Girls' School. You didn't mention.
Okay, because coincidentally,
it's not in
what
your...
is not within Itam area. So actually, we conduct because by my friend, my colleague, it's about MPS, Molecular School. And also
Free School Road and Free School and Convent Green Lane is nearby.
Quite nearby.
But you didn't mention.
Because it's just Green Lane.
Time constraint.
Time constraint.
Girls contribute a lot.
Time constraint.
Mutiara Girls' School also, right?
Mutiara.
Yeah.
And very sad, Convent Ticus now shut down. So sad. I'm from Convent Ticus. Do some research, please.
Yeah, I just for info, just the past Tuesday I gave a talk about Nanhua Chinese School, Chinese schools are established in the New Chinese Town Hall in 1888. I found out that actually those schools like Convent, the Convent Ticus, Penang Preschool, St. Xavier, like Convent Ticus, actually they compete with those Chinese schools. So actually they have some, we call it as the pressure towards Chinese school. So they actually have some impact influences for those girls' school as well.
I just want to request, these slides can you send or can I have a copy of the slides because I missed it. I mean, if I will give email, YouTube.
Okay. It will be uploaded on YouTube, so you can see.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments, please feel free. I mean, today's, I feel like I've learned a lot. I'm mind blown actually. I mean, I'm born in Penang and grew up in Penang. I studied, part of my education is from Penang. I mean, I was from St. George's and then USF. So like I really learned a lot today. But you know, if there's anything else that ladies and gentlemen, you would like to add on to our pool of knowledge today, please feel free. Otherwise, can I please get perhaps your last comment or last 3 words maybe even to describe Penang Hill from your own personal perspectives? Perhaps we could go with Clement first.
Yeah, Penang Hill, because most of us are not staying in Penang Hill, but bungalow stay is something part of Penang.
Yes.
Remember those high
Sweet
school,
life.
While somebody's parents are government servant. Yes, you can rent the whole bungalow, don't know how much, cheap, and then all our students, same class, and then try to invite the girls. And they tell haunted stories, scare the girls, and we had this caretakers cook very good food, Hainanese food. Also
South View.
Yeah. So I hope the whole bungalow will stay on, and we should not let them disappear. And don't let all this huge international hotel coming. That will be spoiling the mood of the place. Yeah. Stay the same.
Yeah, don't privatize also.
Yeah. The bungalows should always be.
Yeah.
Any more government bungalows here? No more. Government.
The gentleman.
I have a question talking about the future. Maybe one of the panelists can say. Does anybody know what the plans for Crack Hotel is? Because the last impression I heard, that's going to be where the cable car is going to land. And in my mind, talking about history, that'll be a shame, because if there's any set of building that needs to preserve, it's actually the Crack Hotel area or the old Upland School, because that has the most history of the hill. Okay, so I think there should be a strong push to the state government to really, if they do consider that as a landing point, to reconsider that. Because I don't know how you do it, but either you, just like the Penang Habitat, if you get a private government partnership, and if something can make it viable into keeping its heritage and utilizing the area, and as a tourist attraction, yes, but at the same time being a heritage. Because one of the earlier things the gentleman talked about Balai Pulau, we talked about Georgetown. You say, why you keep these old buildings? You say, what's unique about Penang? Okay, I'm a Penang, I don't live in Penang now, but it's the fact that actually these buildings, heritage area, Penang Hill, is your identity. That is why Penang Lines are so unique. It gives you a cultural identity. You destroy your history, basically you destroy your identity. And you become empty shell. So, other than always pushing the thing, ecotourism, there's another aspect. The other aspect is, this is your history, this is your culture, this is your identity. It is the job of the government to foster that and protect it. Not only look every time in dollars and cents. Dollars and cents are essential to make it work, but I hear always in all heritage sites, nature, always I hear is ecotourism, money. That's fine, one portion. But no one talks about the cultural or the social aspect of why you should preserve. And I think more the media and society should push and say, look, part of our heritage is us. You should protect that for the sake of just protecting that. Not for the sake to say, oh, I want this for money, or I want this for economy. That is only part of the story. So I think that is another aspect we should, going forward, we should really look and talking to the state bodies or people in power and say, look, this part of Penang, its unique history, it's our identity, it's us. It's your job to look after it. Thank you.
I first time I experienced to stay one night in a bungalow in Penang, on Penang Hill. I couldn't get any other room except one in Hickory.
Yeah.
So I was so surprised to see a very ancient style of the building, which to me is like similar to China. We call it 𝐒𝐩𝐿. What the building is so beautiful, and then the overall surrounding is so beautiful. So, and then I never heard of that. No, I doubt many people are aware of that building. Now it is owned by an Indian, by Dr. Raj. No? Yeah, Dr. Raj. And then of course I become busybody, so I started asking around. So I want to bring to the notice of all of you about that building. Very interesting.
Book by Mike GB about Penang Hill and the bungalows, very good description.
Yeah, that's so nice.
It's good. The bungalows are every sort of heritage. Should always be said here.
Any last remarks, Edzo?
Yeah, I think apart from what I mentioned, community spirit of Penang Hill is the best. I would say because I'm planning to do a series on Fraser's Hill and Cameron Highlands, but sadly I don't see that sort of unified community spirit as I see in Penang Hill. That strong community spirit like Bukit Raja. You have Uncle Raja over there, Uncle Raja Bukit. That kind of personality who would go all out and contribute their lives since youth, childhood, to stay and preserve the hill. So I think that is something that.
Okay, thank you. I will thank Kim Ting because Kim Ting contacted me to come up with something new topic, a topic about this Penang Hill, and I think about the African wonders. And actually, in this presentation, I have the future, and I'm thinking maybe to get some feedback. And I love your feedback. It really helped me to aware, because actually I'm doing something about education history. Then I want to think what's actually other perspective I can do it. Then just now mentioned like Green Lane, MGS, and also just now Tiara and Union High School as well. So actually there's a topic we can do, because we can see in Penang, our area, there's a boy and girl school, quite concentrated. I mean quite imbalanced compared to other states. So there's actually a new topic, sir. I really thank you, appreciate for the comment. We are waiting for this comment. To see actually what just now I mentioned for the environmentalist, historian, educationalist. So there's something new topic I can come up to conduct research to further to make sure this education history. Because now you see some of the school they close down, Convent Pilotic schools, Convent Green, Convent, and also Light Street. So there's something waiting for us to conduct research. And not only to save our history, I mean to preserve the history. Maybe some of you from CGL, CPT or CLS. So in the future we know actually there existed those schools, either boys or girls school. So actually this one is venue for us to continue to conduct an awareness of those schools within Penang Hill, around Penang Hill and beyond Penang Hill. Thank you.
Actually, Penang Hill, besides the upland school, last time we have the brothers school. And so I remember there's a Buddhist school in the heart of the hill. Yeah, it was, I think later they sold something. There's a lot of religious institutions, training, prayer, and then they learn something. So within Penang Hill itself, we have this religious institution. Yeah. So I think good to revive that. Yes. Okay.
And I mean to summarize or wrap up today's session, I must say that apart from really looking at the history of Penang Hill and how it really shapes the identity of Penang, there's still so much more to learn from the hill and its vicinity, of course. And of course, the interesting part, could it be the feng shui? Which makes it so special, and even as it was a convalescent so I think we are truly blessed to still have Penang Hill as it is today, instead of it being neglected. And I'm just really happy and proud to be a Penangite, and also to be celebrating the 100th anniversary of the Funicular tracks this year in October. Right? So I would like to thank the speakers and the Penang Hill Corporation, Vivian and Kim, and of course to all of you, our wonderful audience today. Please give yourself a round of applause.
One more thing. The Penang Hill, yes, you are looking surrounding the Penang Hill. I would suggest a more balanced development around Penang Hill rather than just looking from Penang Hill to Georgetown, as I mentioned earlier, you should look behind Penang Hill as well, linking towards other parts of Penang, such as 𝐿𝐴𝐴𝐵𝐵, Itam, 𝐿𝐴𝐴𝐵𝐵, Tanjung Bunga, including Balik Pulau, because I'm sure many of you maybe might not be aware, where is Titik Kerawang, where is Pulau Bitong, where is 𝐒𝐞𝐧𝐻, where is Pantai Aceh. Some may not be aware of all these places. So I would suggest you look for a greater balance surrounding the Penang Hill. Penang Hill is the center, but there are others surrounding. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Matt and our speakers, for the very interesting and truly eye-opening session. If there are no further questions, we would like to invite Mr. Shahriar Chia, our Senior Manager from Penang Hill Corporation, to present a souvenir for our speakers and narrators.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, this is it. I was looking for. I had that movie, so I'm just gonna have this look. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Two, three, one more. Thank you.
Can we take a photograph this way around with all the...
Yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah.
I love Penang.
I love Penang.
Love Penang.